might suddenly struggle. He's definitely negative in win rate currently today, Reina.
Okay.
By a fair amount. I think it's like 5-3.
5-3, not too shabby after all. So,
3-5. 3-5.
3-5. Okay, actually, okay.
Yeah.
Novelskaya has made it through either.
Yeah.
Instead, we go to the Dragonshire again. Could be a little bit of a longer one. Could also end quickly, though, if you remember what happened earlier with a 10-minute game by a team.
We will see. We'll find out. As Dragonshire is on the board and Maiev is not. Maiev and Illidan seem to be like the go-to bans just against the A-team now. For good reason. Yeah,
maybe the A-team, you know, they have perfected the way of playing with these aggressive melee bruisers, melee assassins.
Maybe.
No cards either.
Also seems to be a targeted pick. Targeted ban. There goes Diablo. It didn't let through. Very interesting.
Oh, yeah. Unless they banned it themselves. Oh, they banned the Valyria. That is the one pick that KT came back with earlier on Sky Temple. And you can see the smiles on the faces of the A-team. They're like, no, not this time, guys. We figured you out. And as you hinted towards, Tetra, the Illidan is still available.
There's the Hanzo to start with, but they can always pick into it. The A-team, they now have their Illidan available, but they start off with the Reina, the Reina, and the White Mane once again. White Mane did seem to work for them.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? You don't have to fix it if it works so well for you. And I don't really see any issues with either of those heroes on Dragonshire, right? Some heroes tend to be a little bit more map specific, but Reina is in such a good spot right now, you can almost pick it on any given case. Same seems to be true for White Mane. Now, Blaze, see you later. But they don't want to have this protection squad shuffling around near Sergeant Hammer with the Bunker and Decker Kane.
And now Illidan, Genji, all these good options. Just a tank. They're not first pick off the ban, so they shouldn't ban a tank. Li Ming. Okay, that's sensible. They have Hammer. But that was a choice of Li Ming over Chromie. So they don't seem to value the new Chromie that high.
Have we actually seen her in pro play already? The new Chromie?
I don't know, actually.
Yeah. Oh, the rise and fall of Chromie. She used to be such a menace for such a long time, and now I think she's still one of the lowest win rate heroes in casual play. So let's
Phoenix. So no Chromie, no Nazebo, none of those.
Actually, dude, Tetra, I would have loved a Nazebo here. I think it would have worked out so well for them. It's a good map for him. You know, you have a lot of time to farm, to stall the enemy team's advance. You have strong rotations to get all those Voodoo Ritual stacks in. And you have Sergeant Hammer. So those are all the magical ingredients.
I agree. That is the ingredients to make a lovely cake that will just burn your enemy to death.
Spooder cake.
Spooder cake. Delicious. As we see Johanna and Yorel, the Crusade has arrived. And there it is.
Oh, there he is.
Into a Johanna. We've seen weirder.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen Chinese teams pick Illidan into Arthas and whatnot, so
true.
There's definitely a lot of confidence that the A-team seems to be putting into this Illidan. They've played it in the playoffs multiple times to great success, if you think about how they were able to progress through that bracket. Now, this is basically going to be the turning point, right? Are we going to find out whether this ban of Illidan against the A-team is justified? Are we going to find out that, you know, it's actually overrated and people no longer even have to fear it?
We will find out indeed, because once again, this is one of the picks that sort of carried them through the playoffs for a while.
True.
Seemed to struggle against some of the stronger teams. Let's see if it is still worth it, because if so, then suddenly we start to get a lot of scary picks that the A-team have. That Illidan, that Maiev, all these heroes that you can start to turn around with and wreck.
What is your intuition telling you, Tetra? What does your gut say? Does that Illidan work, or is it too ambitious?
Looking at the draft of KT, I don't think they were prepared. I don't think they gave that the respect that it should have deserved. I'm leaning towards the 18.
All right, and I'm going to join you on that one. You know, I think they have the mechanical skill, the mechanical prowess to make it work. And Dragonshire is definitely one of the better maps for Illidan. You know, potential hunt plays as a pseudo-global could really work out for them. Let's see if the Betrayer is finally going to harvest some souls, or if the pick was over all along. KT on the left-hand side with TWTWT, Kiaru, Lotus, Timeless, and Bad.
And on the right, it is the A team with Jaina, Olele, Stugos, Yitzkuk, and Bruiser.
Bruiser, man, if there's anyone that can pull it off, judging from what we've seen today with that Maiev onslaught earlier, I think it's him.
Yeah, Bruiser's definitely stepping it up as a ranged assassin these days, so it's cool to see that once more. So we'll see how he goes. Starting off with, I believe that one is Battered Assault.
Yes, sir.
We don't see it that often, so my color recognition is not the best.
A little bit of cheating shall be allowed every now and then, but I think you're right.
Yep, Battered. I did just cheat right now, and it was Battered. Hooray.
So no immolation, no AoE damage, no additional wave clear, for example. Instead, we go for more single target damage, which is good against Sergeant Hammer if you think about it.
Very true. Makes a lot of sense. You got to burst her down. If you have percentage damage as well, that's always good as well. Get through that armor.
Yeah, we have Siege Tactics, of course, the talent we're talking about. That gives her 50 armor, makes her unstoppable for a short period of time. Has a 12-second cooldown, as we found out the hard way when we had a couple of Stitches attempts, actually. I think it was also A-Team, though, who went for that shish kebab Stitches, didn't they?
I think so. I think you might be correct there. As we see Jaina eating a lot of damage. Has to back up. Going to have to wait for that shield to recharge.
So for those of you who are wondering, like, how did they use shish kebab Stitches against Sergeant Hammer? So the deal is, the shish kebab basically allows Stitches to hook 2 targets. So when it passed through the Sergeant Hammer, it would actually hook someone else behind her, and on the way back, when the unstoppable effect of Siege Tactics would run out, it would still grab the hammer and put it back onto Stitches. We had a couple of those funny interactions, and it was amazing to see. But it looks like, you know, none of the teams actually took notice of it because Stitches hasn't been seen once today.
Yeah, not this case.
Yeah.
And it was very much a hit and miss effect in general. Like, it very much relies on small choke points, so that Hammer has to stay within the hook range. I guess if she walks outside it, you would not be hooked anymore. It would be my guess.
All right, Lotus now in trouble, but so is Bruiser. Both heroes live for now, though. Bruiser needs to be very careful. Illidan makes it his way to safety. I think Sergeant Hammer is going to be all right. I'm looking at her health bar right now. Seems to be doing okay.
At this stage, Olele is eating so much damage. Not in Hammer's range anymore, though, so it's not so bad. Gonna have to back up. We need more poke from that white main. Given the opportunity is bad, it's taken out. Illidan able to pick up first blood and then became the opponent's team's first blood.
He almost, I was going to say, he almost made it out alive there, but in the nick of time did Uriel, arrive. And with that stun, with that mini stun from the fully charged hammer, they basically made sure that Illidan would regret his reckless behavior. Also, we see blind build up to this point coming in from Timeless on the Johanna. We can't really blame him, right? If there's 2 heroes, 3 heroes even right now you want to blind, it's definitely those 3 we see on the side of A-Team. Illidan, Raynor, and Phoenix. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Gotta try and stop those auto attacks coming in, so yeah, Johanna, more blinds. More blinds, the better.
More
You're gonna
blinds.
have a wonderful time.
Alright, Kiaru finds himself outnumbered, but not outsmarted here, because he ends up jumping to safety here. Good positioning by him. It's gradually going to bring his health back up in good shape. Now the teams is actually committing super hard onto this. It's a very similar start to what we saw earlier in Sky Temple, right? And only in the late game did things escalate a little bit.
Bad. Scouts out via the scatter arrow that no one is currently coming to gank him. Bot lane continues to get absolutely wrecked as top lane is the one that's getting absolutely wrecked as bot lane finally control is acquired, at least for the time being, but they're forced back pretty quickly as they are outnumbered.
Alright, the stun lands onto Bad. He uses a cheeky jump over the wall there, but Illidan is too sticky of a hero. He shall not escape this time around, and yet another kill for the Illidan. And, you know, Illidan, it's so funny. He's one of those heroes that is widely disregarded by many teams and even the community itself, as we could see from the chat's reactions when he was logged in. But sometimes in those games, when you have a good time, when you are dominating the early mid game, he can actually still shine like in his best days.
With Thirsting Blade now online, Timeless will interrupt by the power of walking.
Still has the healing fountain as well, I
nothing.
think. Yep.
That Illidan is doing actually nothing. Oh my god. As that is forced to back up. How long can Timeless do this? This is 3 people now who might interrupt him, but it was enough time. Urel was able to neutralize top, and Deckard and Hammer were able to get bot. Kiaru avenging Ram.
Oh, the greedy teleport into it.
Back.
Nice. That was a good kill. Like, we saw something, by the way, which could sometimes make for interesting movements and plays. Hold that thought. We have a sniper in here. Bad actually had that target on lock here, and Jimmy is no more, unfortunately, for now. But yeah, we saw the interaction there, the potential interaction between Hanzo and Illidan, right? When Hanzo uses his natural agility over the wall, and Illidan just uses the dive right as he does it, sometimes Illidan will follow him all the way to the base, for example. So gotta be careful on how you use your dive sometimes when playing Illidan.
Hammer taking a little bit of harassment, but Stugos, the healer, being forced to back up, needs to move forward, gets a little bit of healing, a little bit of burst, healing thanks to the damage output.
Okay.
Here comes the damage. Is it enough? No, the nice scroll of sealing timing as well. And as such, Hammer escapes.
That was crazy. No fear in the eyes of Lotus here. He's completely tanking through, and he's actually back at it again. TWT and Lotus, man, those two. Nothing shall part them, nothing shall separate them. Now it's Jimmy actually in trouble.
Reyna is...
There we go.
Fine. Muradin is not, as down he goes.
Oh, it's Reyna fine,
I'll be fine. I might have spoke too soon. Oh, there we go. To turn around on Timeless. Forces him to back up.
Good stuff here. Timeless also knowing his limits, you know, he knew exactly when it was time to stop and when it's time to go back. So they still end up getting a kill. Let's take a look at some of the heroic abilities here, by the way. We see BFG, so more single target burst. You see once again the Aegis. No big surprise here in Illidan. Look at Illidan. He's still waiting for it. Even Muradin is waiting for it, but I can't see a world in which this would be a Haymaker game.
Haymaker hunt. Illidan follows them to the end of the Haymaker. They're now in the backline, stunned even longer. What could go wrong? But no, it's Metamorphosis and likely going to be Avatar.
Yeah. So it's cool to see that Metamorphosis is still not out of the game yet. I mean, on Dragon Shard, you know, the pseudo-global coming in from the hunt would have certainly been very useful. But in those team fights, when there is a lot of damage to be dodged potentially, an Illidan who stays alive is sometimes more valuable than hunting Illidan. So,
yeah. With sustain, like you said, if Illidan's dead, it doesn't matter if he's just dropped a stun. If he's dead, then you're not going to get that much value. Whereas on the other side, if you can stay alive in the fight, more auto attacks. But that's all about how effectively Johanna can drop those blinds as well.
Oh, speaking of things that Johanna can drop, she was dropping the shield onto Phoenix, played by Jaina, and down he goes. Now, with a man advantage, let's see if the A-team can actually stabilize, or the man disadvantage, excuse me. Maybe they can even retaliate onto Bad with Illidan taking a kill.
Now he's looking for Urel, turning around, getting that extra damage. There's a quick knockback.
Blinds.
There's a dash over. In the meantime, Muradin has died in the bot lane as Illidan is just cleaning up everyone in the top lane. So A-team with a triple kill here.
Triple kill after losing Phoenix early on, so that was a death well spent. And Bruiser, he continues to be that menace. Is he Hugo 2.0? Is A-team finally starting to bring back Illidan to China? I think it looks like it, and he's also now piloting the big Dragon Knight. Probably the perfect target to hop inside in the first place. So now they're going to try to deal a little bit of structural damage onto this middle lane.
Towers first, of course. 8 minutes in, this is the first Dragon Knight we have seen. So how quickly can the A-team burst through the lane here? Using Fire Breath on the minion wave once again as well. Get maximum value from that.
Yeah, Muradin is just trying to, excuse me, keep the enemy team at bay here a little bit so they won't be able to get that free damage done onto the Dragon Knight. In the meantime, we also see all 3 lanes kind of being pushed and soaked from, which is a good thing for the A-team. Level 13 advantage is going to be huge as well when it comes to securing those tank fights. Oh, that's just the best feeling in the world if you have that Dragon Punt available and you just say goodbye to Sergeant Hammer. Speaking of saying goodbye, hey, see you later, Hanzo.
Hanzo goes down, the salvo drops everyone else a little bit low as the fort is taken out. Second fort of the game, the A-team. starting to move ahead with a little lead here. They're even looking further, looking for the Sergeant Hammer, but a quick knockback into the scroller ceiling, and everything is fine.
Yeah, let's see if they, as a consolation prize, can at least get these Siege Giants. Kiara is preparing for a jump over the wall here, maybe followed up by a knockback, but Johanna's actually getting them back in.
Sleep comes out, Dragon Arrow from downtown. He gives Yorel a chance to drop the Ardent Defender, but she's still too low, has to back out. In the meantime, Bruiser is 1v1ing Hammer. Illidan trying to chase Lotus down, but it's not going to be enough.
It's not going to be enough. They didn't lose anyone, but they were able to snatch away that mercenary camp from their opponents, which in itself is, of course, a pretty nice win. And not only that, also they will maintain a pretty healthy 2-level lead very soonish. So yeah, you can really see how this team composition of the A team is working. Although Johanna is really trying her best to keep the enemy team blinded, Illidan, Raynor, and Phoenix, there's only so many targets you can blind at the same time, right? You have to focus on one, but then you give up on the other two.
They charge forward once again. Illidan, Hammer is the target every single time. Salvo comes out. There's no slows currently onto Lotus, and Salvo got interrupted there, so they will have that back in 3 seconds. Illidan, Muradin actually is going to be the one who goes very deep, and Yitzcook is able to stay alive. Salvo once again dropped out. This time it lands, but not too much damage.
Stu goes there with MVP heals all across the board. He's taking care of Illidan, taking care of Muradin. All those Warcraft compadres of Sally Whitemane are being helped and saved. Pretty cool stuff, man. Stugo is formerly known as Stukov. I mean, we mentioned his performance during the playoffs as well, right? When he stepped it up on that Alex Brasa, for example, by such a large margin. And overall, if you look at it, this A-team looks like a completely rebranded, refreshed team, doesn't it?
Indeed it does. They're looking very solid right now. It's very similar to how we described RPG. But the question is, will they be able to keep up with RPG when those two teams play against each other later on in the phase? For now, though, bot lane retaken by KT, who are looking to try and make their mark as well, even though they are a level behind.
Yeah, that they are.
Now two.
Level and a talent behind. 2 levels, actually, in a talent. So let's see if this is the time for them to fight, or whether they should just try to take a chill pill and wait for their time to strike. But if you know China, guys, there is one thing that we can all remember. Talent, that's nothing to us. Sometimes those Chinese teams, they will keep on brawling when they think that they have the better engagement angle and the better timing.
Jaina hovering around the area. Quick stun. Quick knockback. Sorry, by Kiara. There's the stun. There's another stun with the BFG. That was perfectly in sync, but it's too late to stop the Dragon Knight.
Wow. Very rarely do you see the Dragon's Arrow and the BFG, the projectiles moving with the almost identical movement speed. That was so cool to see, and they wiped off the floor with the Phoenix. However, Phoenix, once again, did not die in vain. His death did have meaning, just like Variance. And, yep, they will secure themselves the Dragon Knight. Of course, the question remains, right? How much value will they get from this Dragon Knight? That remains to be seen, but it's still better to get a relatively harmless Dragon Knight than giving it over to the enemy team. But
will that Dragon Knight be harmless? With Phoenix coming back, they still have 30 seconds. They can at least try and maybe move in for some towers. It would be risky, but with Yorel showing in top lane a couple seconds ago, they could try and do something with it.
Yeah, they're saving as much time as possible, right? Phoenix is almost back to the fray, and you can really see how well A-Team is playing this. They're just using the Flame Breath from a safe distance without really losing the Dragon Knight up to this point. The stun is easily dodged by Siege Tactics from Lotus.
The health's about the same amount as the timer here, finally dropping lower as Bruiser has popped out of it.
Yeah.
Scatter Arrow, a little bit of damage onto Jaina's shield.
Yep, and that is correct. You know, the longer you stall this regeneration, this self-sustain, the better. Same can be said about Muradin. If you help in that regard, it's pretty cool. Bruiser actually absorbed the Dragon's Arrow there completely all by himself. He drops very low, though. Can he actually be clicked in time by Whitemane? Yes, he can. He's safe for now.
He waits for the sleep to expire before he dives back in, but the blind shuts him down immediately. Stugos being forced to back up as he is being focused down by the Yorel, who dives onto him. We see that Yitzcook is actually also going to get taken out. Jaina gets to teleport away. In the meantime, Raynor on the backline is absolutely shredding people. But Whitemane, Phoenix goes down. Sergeant Hammer, can Olele kite this with the healing from Stukos? No, and Stukos will almost certainly fall as well.
Terran OP, man, showing Phoenix who's boss. Sergeant Hammer reigning supreme in that duel. Let's see if Bad can actually get that last killing blow. Oh, actually got that chain there. This is the first time we see it live in action here in China. The root coming in from the 13 talent. Let's take another look at that team fight, Tetcher.
Yeah, and I really want to pet. You can see there the immediate blind and the knockback onto the Illidan is just a complete shutdown. Jane is trying to get a fantastic wrap around here, doing some good damage to Locust. Doesn't actually get the slow on Sergeant Hammer, so doesn't get the bonus damage there. There you see that 1v1. Duels him. Doesn't even swap. He's got mobile offense, not even Arsenal synergy there, so it was just trying to kite it, but hammer damage too high.
And Tetra, this could be the momentum that KT was looking for. Look at that push. Double mercenaries, triple mercenaries even, with those bruisers holding the front line and the siege giants wrecking buildings left, right, and center. Only now is A-Team reassembling. Here goes another kill. Phoenix gets blown to pieces.
Stukos takes the damage from the BFG with Phoenix down already. They want to try and push this further. Lotus takes a tiny bit of harassment from Yeatkok, but it might be enough as they look for Muradin. He has to Dwarf Toss away. Stormbolt does not land. Still, 2 sets of Siege Giants available. They might try and push this in, or they might try and go for the Dragon Knight. Looks like push is the name of the game.
Push is the name of the game. They don't have a global really to either, you know, occupy the temple or maybe even try to go for the Dragon Knight as a result. They try to keep the enemy team at the core, but look at A-Team. They're splitting up. They're trying to keep those Siege Giants busy and prevent them from attacking the core as well. I think KT may actually be wasting a little bit of time here.
Bruiser's in. He's going to try and disrupt this as best he can. He's already dived back out, but he's ready to turn this around. Nice route by Stugos, but he takes so much damage. Has to drop that as shield. Just burns immediately all of his plea as they are able to take down all the Siege Giants without losing any shield of the core.
Yeah, so whenever... whenever Whiteman uses 3 stacks of Desperation, the self-shielding is going to kick in place because of the level 4 talent. So that's really a nice nice lifesaver. But yeah, so KT, good news. They were able to get a keep, and they were able to stay alive as a unit, right? Bad news, they weren't able to get that core, and where they're going to get that Dragon Knight is also a little questionable. Although with that level 20, they might actually still be in pretty decent shape.
As we do see the mercenaries being taken by the A-Team. KT started theirs, but have abandoned it to try and control top lane, as I'm sure they would have loved that double channel. As they're about to hit level 20, now they can move on to top lane. They were happy to wait and delay it.
Okay, bottomless flask for Decker Kane is what we see here. We see the Sephirim for the Irel, which is going to be very, very useful, especially when it comes to engaging, you know, unstoppable on yourself. And no longer will you have to worry about getting interrupted while channeling your abilities. That's pretty cool stuff.
Yep, it's a great dive tool.
Yep.
Jaina eats a little bit of scatter arrow. Muradin finds it. Dragon arrow with play of the game. But can they follow up BFG? Yes, they can. They delete Phoenix.
Phoenix seems to be the scapegoat every single time, man. They delete the Protoss. Let's see if Bruiser can actually stay alive here. Has to use the Metamorphosis defensively. They get the Decker Kane, though. It's a 1 versus 1 trade.
It really is, and now Bruiser also in retreat. He's looking for the turnaround, looking for Bad if he can. Doesn't matter. Yeatkok has got control of Bad. One more Thunderclap and he will die. Unless... Oh, that was very close. Bruiser, still pretty healthy right now. He could try and dive back in. This is a 3 versus 3, but it looks like they're just going to split.
Yeah, and the most important thing, of course, is as well that Lotus was at full HP, right? With the Sergeant Hammer in place.
Bruno got denied. Muradin's ball got denied. They're not going to chase him down, though, by the looks of it. Actually, they might. Hammer.
Yeah.
No, Hammer's the one who gets hammered.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, Hammer is gonna keep this bottom lane in check, though. I don't think there's a single hero that can 1 versus 1 her right now. Illidan needs to be careful. I know what the goal is here, right? Look at the blinds. Look at the stuns. If Illidan falls, that could be game. But they already got control back over the bottom, Tetcher.
Getting the desperate plea. Gets the armor, friend or foe. And they are able to retreat. And they have level 20 now.
Ooh, good stalling really here for A-Team. That could have actually gone south quite handily as well. We see the execute, by the way, for Raynor. So more damage to targets that are below 50% health. And with quite a lot of targets that are actually below, with a pretty significant health pool. That might be pretty sweet. But even against the squishies, like when you hit those squishies in the backline in a good angle, Jamie is actually going to make their life miserable.
Oh, yes. He's going to have a wonderful time there. Dragon Arrow hits Stukos, playing the game. BFG Scroller Ceiling is dodged though, and now this fight is on. Stay on and listen, does delay it a tiny bit, but Stukos is still able to move in and gets the healing onto everyone. Salvo comes out for the counter. Lotus is dropped so low here. Muradin in the backline. Illidan dives in and takes out the Sergeant Hammer, but Muradin dies in exchange. That's the main tank gone as Jaina is getting absolutely wrecked by catapults. And Hanzo, but he gets the quick healing from the Indomitable Spirit. He gets the shield back. He's able to retreat as Bruiser looks for Bad. He doesn't get it bad over the wall. And with Kiaru putting on the focus, but a quick Aegis from the Yrel, not from the Yrel, from the Wyvern, keeping him alive. He finds Bad again, goes for the dive and gets the kill.
So much healing, so much protection onto Bruiser on the Illidan right now. Look at all that white main work that she is putting into that. And even Yrel might not be safe from the onslaught of Illidan the Betrayer. And A-Team, against all odds, they are doing it. And Jaina with that level 20 is finally able to survive here. Jaina, of course, playing that Phoenix. Finally manages to stay alive against that burst damage coming in from the Dragon's Arrow, from that BFG. So many times did Phoenix fall in the past, but not this time. And guess what, Tetcher? You may die 1,000 times, but as long as you win that one late game team fight with that Dragonite, you might still be just fine.
That Indomitable Spirit saving the day for Phoenix, and that upgraded Aegis saving the day for Whiteman. Illidan made the perfect move, diving for Hanzo. Second Hanzo went out of range. He dived straight back, went into the Scarlet Crusade, getting that extra 50% more healing and getting the Unstoppable, and he went straight back in. A clutch move, great positioning by Bruiser and by Stugos on this white main, staying alive for so long after he was the initial engaged target.
And Tetra, look at all that core damage. Illidan is already scary all by himself, but now with that level 20 Metamorphosis upgrade and the attack speed, he's going to chunk down buildings to pieces. Dragonite has been dealt with though. Good sleep as well. Olele is about to fall. Look at that heal though from white main.
A little bit of damage applied to actually a little bit of nothing applied to Bruiser. They can't even get near him as he just plays over the core, and the A-Team take the 2-0, putting themselves up to 4 points and at the top of the table with a game in hand.
Happy faces on the side of the A-Team, but shattered facial expressions on the side of KT. That was a long, a tiring series, and if you can't win it or at least tie it out, you gotta feel frustrated. And oh man, Tetcher, I just can't believe what we saw here. We were a little bit skeptical, right, when we saw that Illidan being locked in. But hey, Bruiser, he's back on it, and they made it work yet again.
Bruiser's a really good player, dude. He's so strong. That Illidan was very effective, very nice job, and as such, the A-Team, they bring it out. And as such, the A-Team, remember, they were able to... they were able to take a 1-1 versus Super Perfect team.
Yeah.
That's impressive. So they've now fought what is potentially their hardest opponent. What could be considered via the previous series to be potentially one of their previous phase to be potentially one of their easier opponents. They still have RPG and Team Nut to play against, but the fact is, and BTG as well, who looks scary, they still have some very tough opponents and some potentially easier opponents. But right now, the A-Team, they're looking strong.
I'm going to have to say this, Tetra. I think out of all the teams we saw today, right, of course, we had a bigger sample size with certain teams because they played twice. Nevertheless, though, I think RPG and A-Team, they could be some serious contenders for the top ranks, right? Unless we have this common Chinese phenomenon of these promising teams, you know, breaking and, you know, faltering in the middle of the season. I really think those could be in for some surprises.
I think they could be as well. And yeah, I'm just very impressed by all of the level of play today. Yeah. It looks like that some of these roster changes have really benefited a lot of the teams in this phase. I'm curious to see how it falls out, because once again, the usual thing for HGC China is the first day, maybe 2-3 days, is a little bit chaotic or not so much indicative of the final weeks. But either way, we had some fantastic series today.
Absolutely, and it really speaks for the region itself that there seems to be so much talent, right? There seems to be so many players that are willing to make an impact here on the pro scene. And look at that! Look at just how balanced it was. 13-13 kills, 2-4 structures, and Bruiser. Man, oh man, did he underline his statement here once again on that Illidan. He's kind of like Hugo 2.0, as we said, like the only player, the only team right now that really seems to rely on Illidan, and boy, does it look good.
And as such, they are able to take the points. Nicely done. And that is all for our games today.
Yes, that is correct.
So very nicely done.
However,
we do have, once again, more games tomorrow. And there is more esports today in less than an hour.
Which is also the reason why we're going to cut things short now, guys. Tetra's on a rough schedule, right? Casting 2 events at the same time, today and tomorrow. So we know that he's a lean, green casting machine, but even he needs to eat, drink, and recuperate at least a little bit. So, Tetra, why don't you tell us really quickly what's going to happen in a few minutes from now on this very channel, and then we're going to basically take off.
In a few minutes from now, we will have the final Cup for the European Open Division before the playoffs. Epunks Black are already basically already 100% qualified in first seed. No one can physically score enough points to dethrone them. So outside of some cataclysmic rust apocalypse for them, they are not going anywhere. So it's all about fighting over the rest of the seeds and trying to get that second, trying to get to beat Epunks Black in the playoffs. But once again, after that, you have the North American Open Division 2, and then once again, you can join me and Kendrick tomorrow, including such matchups as BTG versus CE, the One versus SPT, One versus RPG, and BTG versus the A team, and also SPT versus KT.
Man, that is already enough reason to tune back in. If you're enjoying Heroes Esports, if you enjoy the action, then make sure to follow the channel. Check us out on Twitter, @KendrickSwish, @Tetra. Check us out on all the other social medias as well. I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to find us one way or the other. And as such, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, tune back in tomorrow, same time, same place for more HGC China. Stay tuned. Grab some snacks, get some drinks in for the Open Division Europe with Tetra and Grubby on this very channel. And yeah, we're going to see you guys again tomorrow. Thank you for watching. See you then.